Hello everyone, and today I'm back with another writing passage. There will be some changes today, and I don't know if it will affect the narrative quality, but I hope it won't be a big issue for anyone. With that being said, let's get into the passage. Transforming the American West through food and hospitality. Just as travelers taking road trips today may need to take a break for food at a rest area along the highway, settlers traversing the American West by train in the mid-1800s often found themselves in need of refreshment. However, food available on rail lines was generally of terrible quality. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, he decided to open his own restaurant business to serve rail customers. Beginning in the 1870s, he opened dozens of restaurants in rail stations and dining cars. These Harvey houses, which constituted the first restaurant chain in the United States, was unique for its high standards of service and the quality. The menu was modeled after those of fine restaurants, so the food was leagues beyond the sinister fare travelers were accustomed to receiving in transit. His restaurants were immediately successful, but Harvey was not content to follow conventional business practices. Although women did not traditionally work in restaurants in the 19th century, Harvey decided to try employing women as waitstaff. In 1883, he placed an advertisement seeking educated, well-mannered, articulate young women between the ages of 18 and 30. Response to the advertisement was overwhelming, even tremendous, and Harvey soon replaced the male servers at his restaurants with women. Those who were hired as Harvey girls joined an elite group of workers who were expected to complete a 30-day training program and follow a strict code of rules for conduct and curfews. In the workplace, the women donned identical black and white uniforms and carried out their duties with precision. Not only were such regulations meant to ensure the efficiency of the business and the safety of the workers, but also helped to raise people's generally low opinion of the restaurant industry. In return for the servers' work, the position paid quite well for the time, $17.5 a month, plus tips, meals, rooms and board, laundry service, and travel expenses. For as long as Harvey houses served rail travelers through the mid-20th century, working there was a steady and lucrative position for women. Living independently and demonstrating an intense work ethic, the Harvey girls became known as a transformative force in the American West, advancing the roles of women in the restaurant industry and the American workforce as a whole. The Harvey girls raised the standard for restaurants and blazed a trail in the fast-changing landscape of the Western territories. Okay, so that was the passage. We will now go into the questions. 34. Themselves. Let's read around it. Food at a rest area along the highway, settlers traversing the American West by train until the mid-1800s often found themselves in need of refreshments. So I think this is a reference, right? Him or herself, theirselves, oneself. Three of this sounds very odd, and if you look for evidence here, this refers to settlers, right? And settlers is both plural and third person, so themselves is the correct answer here. You can immediately see them. So 34 is A, no change, themselves. 35. Which choice provides the most logical introduction to the sentence? Let's see 35. However, food available on rail lines was generally of terrible quality. So bad food. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur. So despite having worked for railroad companies, this is the phrase we need to replace. And the sentence says, Fred Harvey is an English-born entrepreneur and decided to open a restaurant to serve customers, right? And so we immediately see that working for railroad companies doesn't really apply to the cuisine and the food industry, and so this is probably wrong, right? And so A is it's quite wrong because railroad is not food. He had lived in New York and New Orleans, maybe, but where he lives doesn't quite introduce food. To capitalize on demand for good food. Well, if you see, right? Terrible food. The food available, terrible, right? To capitalize the demand for good food. This is quite correct, but we still need to see D. Delete the underlined portion. If we delete this, then terrible food, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, decided to open his own restaurant. It's correct, but C is more correct. You need to choose the most logical. D is logical, but C is better than D, and so C is the correct answer here. 36. An English-born entrepreneur, he decided to open his own restaurant businesses. So we see here, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur. What then? This is not a complete sentence. The grammar is wrong. And then he decided to open his own. He obviously refers to Fred Harvey, which can be replaced with like who or whom or which, those things that reference. Let's see. No change is wrong because the sentence is obviously not complete. An entrepreneur and colon, he decided to open his own restaurant business, doesn't really fit. This B is wrong, doesn't really fit. An entrepreneur, nope. You see, everything needs to be correct. B and C does not make Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, a complete sentence. It has no verb, right? And the only thing that makes sense here is a comma, right? Because this is the introductory phrase, because it is a phrase and not a complete clause. It can not have a verb, right? So Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, comma, he decided to open his own restaurant business to serve rail customers. Oh, it also includes the he. So by replacing he here with a comma, we essentially get Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, comma, decided to open his own, because he is redundant. He is referring to Fred, which is, if you place a comma here, the topic of the sentence, and thus he is redundant. And so D is the correct answer here because it makes the sentence grammatically correct. Always remember that. 37. Harvey Houses, which is the first restaurant chain in the United States, was unique for its high standards. Let's see. Was unique for its high standard. These Harvey Houses, you see? These houses. Oh, that means it is plural. And what is it? It is singular. And what do we need to change it to? What's unique? Was is singular. Was is singular. It is singular, right? So A is wrong. Was unique for their, wrong. Were unique for it, wrong. B is correct by elimination. Which choice maintains the tone established in the passage? The tone basically asks you to understand the passage, what the author is saying, what his opinions about the said subject is. So the author here is just informative, no negative opinion, no positive opinion, maybe some positive opinion because here advancing the roles of women, this is a good change. The author may have some sympathy, but overall the tone is ambiguous, right? There's no obvious opinion here. But 38, what word does they ask us to change? Is sinister fair travelers? No, sinister fair travelers, this implies that the travelers are some kind of super villain that's trying to kill everyone. No, this is wrong, right? What it means here is sinister. The fair, this sinister modifies fair, right? But the menu was modeled after those of fine restaurants, so the food was leagues beyond the something. So this is high quality, leagues beyond low quality, and what in the answer choices indicate low quality. Abysmal, this means very small, basically non-existent. So C is the correct answer. The writers is considering deleting the previous sentence reproduced below for your reference. Should the writer make this change? It's 39. Let's see. Although women did not traditionally work in restaurants in the 19th century, Harvey tried employing women as wait staff. Okay. His business were not content to follow conventional business practices. Okay, so it's that sentence. His restaurants were not immediately did not content to follow traditional business practices. So, although women did not traditionally work, this is tradition. Yeah, the tradition was not to hire women, but Harvey decided to hire women anyways, right? So he is breaking tradition, which means his restaurants were successful, but he did not follow conventional. Conventional means traditional. So basically this introduces everything down here, right? And so we should not delete it. But why? Need to look. No, because it provides a logical introduction to the paragraph. Very good. No, because it provides a specific example. No, that is not an example, that is a statement, and so C is correct. 40. Response to the advertisement was overwhelming, even tremendous, and Harvey soon replaced. Response to the advertisement was overwhelming, even tremendous was the response. Wrong, passive voice. There was an overwhelming, even tremendous response to the advertisement. So this is also kind of passive. This is just wrong. It sounds very odd. C is passive. A is right grammatically. B is also correct grammatically, but you need to see here. Overwhelming, it means a lot. big, something huge. Tremendous, big, huge. So overwhelming is synonymous to tremendous, and so placing two synonyms together may be a stylistic choice, but in this context, one of those is redundant. That means it is not needed. The reader does not need to read. So B is best because it is concise and only uses one overwhelming to avoid redundancy, right? Remember, even in real writing and like test, you need to take concision in mind, because the readers have very little time to read your book. If they are not happy, they will just turn away. No one's gonna read no one wants to read a 5-page essay when you can read 1 page instead. Remember to avoid redundancy. Sometimes placing similar words together may have an amplifying effect, but it is generally good to use one that conveys the overall meaning. So 41. Not only were such relocations meant to ensure the efficiency and the safety, but also helped to raise, I think it's redundant, but also helping, but they also helped. Not only were such relocations meant to ensure the efficiency and the safety workers, but they, remember, but this needs to be a complete clause, but there is no topic here. So the topic is such regulations, that is plural, and so they, but they also helped. D is the correct. Also helping and but also helping is wrong because not complete, but also helped, not complete. Which choice most logically follows the previous sentence? Reproduce for your reference. In return, okay, so it's that wage thing. So in return here, this wage plus tips, meals, laundry service, travel expenses, most logically follows this sentence. The growth of Harvey's coincided with the expansion of Santa Fe. Nope, this is talking about the wage and the work. A is wrong. Harvey would end up opening dozens of restaurants, not relating to servers' work. C. These benefits enable the Harvey girls to save money and build new and exciting lives. These benefits. Oh, where did they mention that? These $17.5 a month, tip, meals, room, board, laundry, travel expenses. These benefits, here it is. C is correct because, you know, everyone is smart. This is an easy question. You would see it right away, I believe. 43. Living independently and demonstrating an intense work ethic, the Harvey girls became known as a transformative force. Intense work ethic. Oh, it's a punctuation. Intense work ethic. Do we need a semicolon or a comma? Oh, this is not an independent clause. A semicolon is used to separate two independent clauses, but living independently and demonstrating an intense work ethic is a dependent clause, and so it needs a comma. D is correct. And lastly, the writer is considering revising the underlined portion of the sentence to read West, inspiring books, documentaries, even a musical. So the complete would be intense work ethic. The Harvey girls became known as a transformative force in the American, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a musical. So we read here, transformative force. So that means they are very influential to transform society. It means that you have a lot of influence on people, on the populace. And so the answer is yes, right? Because books, documentaries, even a musical, that is very influential things, because it's television, it's books, it's music. So we see serves as a transitional point in the paragraph. No, if we remove this, then the topic stays the same. There is no signpost word, there's no connective sentences. So A, because it provides example of the Harvey girls' influence. The influence from the Harvey girls is the transformative force in the American West, right? And so A is the correct answer. And there we go. We have gone to the end of this writing section. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you again.